So do you want to know more about realistic operations for model railroading? Why don't you stick around and see how I run operations on the Sayrehurst Secondary, my N-scale model railroad. Hello everyone, Joe from Central Jersey Conrail and N-scale, and welcome back. So this is our operations series. This is the next segment. We're going to be running the SA35 and the SA37 Extra today. So our last segment together, we ran the SA31 down in the freehold and we switched out the industries down there. So as with all my operations video, I like to go back and go over your comments and questions. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first comment was from Lake Erie's Railways. He was asking about the weathering on my freight cars. Actually, this video, there was a lot of questions about my weathering. All my weathering, I only have probably about half of my cars weathered, and that was from when I was doing in-track shows. And it's kind of a mix of different weathering techniques. There's a bunch of airbrushing done. I was also using the pastel powders with the self-adhesive. So that's where a lot of my runs are. Some of the roof rusting on the roof was done with artist paints. So there's a bunch of everything, and also some of the cars do have graffiti, and that was done with decals. So X-Ray Racer was asking, am I using the JMRI app on my phone? No, I'm not for my operations. As in the first couple operation segments where I experimented with the app on the phone, I didn't like how I was sliding around on the screen and it didn't have enough throttle control over the locomotive doing switching maneuvers. So I've kind of shied away from using the app on the phone for switching. However, I still use it when I'm just, down here running either road trains or if I'm just running trains around, because I like the JMRI app. Because all the function buttons for the sound functions, they actually put what they do. They put in the number one is the bell and number two is the horn. So I kind of like that on the app. So I kind of bounce them back and forth. So hopefully that answers your question. So New Haven Rails was asking about my switch lists. So, and how I'm using them and how I can, if I can describe it more. So the way I'm using the switch list currently is kind of like a work order. So I go ahead and before my operations session, I go and get the car cards that are going to be moved for that train. And I sit down and write up the switch list. And kind of what that is that gives me my work order. So when I know visually which car, how many cars I'm moving, how many cars are getting dropped off, how many cars are getting set out. So when we get to full-scale operations with a crew down here, I'm probably going to get the switch list done before the session and just hand them to the operators and say, here's your work for today. And it's just more of a visual appearance than handing them a stack of car cards and saying, hey, go to freehold and switch it out. Because, this way the switch list gives them the ability to think ahead of their movements and just make it easier instead of just throwing them into the mix. And, the people out there like Mike Simmons and Greg Brzezinski, who are my railroaders out there and who are following along, they can probably attest to that. They don't just go down blind into a certain area to switch out industries. They do some pre-planning and have their all their paperwork in order before they get to the area to switch. So that's how I'm using the combination of the switch lists and car cards. So Walt's World was commenting on how he likes the dice idea, for the scale. He was also saying that he uses event cards to, have cards ready just to throw down pre-written so that some kind of event like a broken coupler or something like that. So I think that's going to be another little tool I'm going to put in my toolbox for later. So thanks, Walt. So LS3 Jack was commenting how easily it looked like I was uncoupling the cars and was asking what tool I'm using. So I'm using the Rix. I'm going to hold it up real close and see if I can get it to focus. I'm using the Rix uncoupling tool. It's got this little like thin spot on it and it works out really well. So I got them in a show and I think they're like $3 for like 2 of them. So it's a great little tool. I think I just ordered some off of Amazon not too long ago, so you can go on Amazon and get them as well. And I got a comment from the Aardvark guy over there across the pond in Great Britain, and he was saying that he liked the story of how the lumber was stacked in the box cars that my uncle relayed to me. So he appreciated that. So because I guess being from another country, they don't really understand how operations are conducted here in the States. So thank you very much for your comment, Aardvark guy. and BNSF6951, Vinny. Thanks for watching the video. And I'm really sorry about them sound effects because I know you've commented in the past about them being too loud. I was just adjusting, going from my body mic to the shotgun mic on the camera, so it's a little different dynamic. So I'm going to make sure I tone that down for everybody this time. And so my buddy Phil, Conrail 1996. He was actually given another suggestion for the EOT problem, is using the little flowers off of the Lego pieces and sticking them in the coupler. So that's a pretty cool idea. I'm going to take a look at that. I think my daughter might have a couple on her Legos laying around. So, and also Phil was asking or saying that, you know, it looked like the lumberyard had down pat about where the cars go, and he was kind of commenting on Prestone. So let me talk about Prestone a little bit. So from what I can tell from the ZTS maps is that they had four connections, and they were stacked on top of each other on the map. So it looked like they were all in one big group, and they had 4 tank car connections and 4 pneumatic connections. So judging from the ZTS map and the way that it was written, I think that it doesn't matter where the cars are spotted because they have those car connections right there. However, I am working on a friend of a friend of a friend, knows somebody who works there and may be able to get a tour there. So I look for the future for me doing something like that. And when I get out there and actually see how it is, I can then, you know, dial it in with dropping cars at Prestone. But for as of right now, I'm just going to work off the map and assume that it doesn't matter where those tank car connections are or where the pneumatic connections are. Because don't forget, Prestone had 2 tracks, and because of selective compression, I've gone down to 1 track. So kind of don't really matter at this point. I guess I could say, hey, put all the tank cars in the back and all the pneumatic, all the covered hoppers up front. So maybe I might just do that for now until I can go out there and take a look at it. So thanks, Phil. Bertus Duverman, he commented how he loves the videos, and he goes, you must be a railroad train man. Unfortunately, yeah, never worked the railroad. I know what I know from watching videos, reading the books, and doing a lot of research. So thank you very much for your comment. And again, Thomas Stoto commented, and he was saying about how he liked the weathered cars, and they showed up really good on video. So thanks, Thomas. Marcus C was also commenting on the dice idea, and he was saying that there's actually a random number generator on the phone. So you can look into that. I think I'm just going to go with the die idea for right now. I don't want to get too much stuff involved with the phone, you know, because then I'm bouncing through apps, you know, from, you know, the sound effects and all that stuff. So thanks, Marcus. I appreciate it, though. And my brother from down under, Neil Perry, he commented how, you know, he was wondering, is the sound effects on the phone going to clash with the sound effects on the locomotive? So actually today when we're on the SA-35, I got one of the sound equipped locomotives on there. So maybe we'll experiment and see how it comes out and give it a shot. Also, he was saying how, am I going to be using any magnetic uncoupling? I got the Microtrain's permanent magnetic uncouplers in there. Excuse me, but I'm not going to be doing the active uncouplers where you got to hit the button and it energizes the magnet to uncouple, because truthfully honest, right now there's enough wiring and electronics underneath the layout and in this section here that I don't really want to add any more, because also, you know, when I get the scenery, I'm going to be adding more wires up in there for all the lights for all the buildings. So I'm going to kind of shy away from that right now, Neil. The permanent magnetic uncouplers that I got are working really well, so I'm just going to stick with that. And then I like, you know, when you're switching cars in an industry, I like the actual physical getting in there and with the uncoupling tool and uncoupling the uncoupler, because it kind of keeps the operator involved and that you're not just like standing back watching and not doing anything. So I feel that getting in there and uncoupling is just one added little thing of the operation sessions, along with throwing the toggles for getting them turnouts to move. So instead of versus, you know, hitting a button on the phone. So thanks, Neil, and thanks for watching. Okay, so Clinton Herring, he's from overseas. He was asking about, you know, how do I learn more about operations? How do I get involved? You know, he's saying how he really likes how I'm doing it and he wants to do it himself. So I threw up some information to him in the comment section, so I'll just put it on video. First off, go to NMRA's website and go to the OPSIG group. They have a lot of forums and a lot of articles to read on actual operations and getting your paperwork in order and all that stuff. Read that. It's a great source. If you're an NMRA member, think about joining the OPSIG group. you know, just to get started, and that's a step in the right direction. The other thing I told Clinton was that Andy Sperano and Tony Custer, they wrote some great books on model railroad operations. They were pretty much the big driving force at Model Railroader, you know, for realistic operations. So look at any of their books. They have a lot of great information. I've read a bunch of them, and that's where I've gotten to today. So the last source I gave Clinton to take a look at was the NORAC handbook. Now, NORAC, what that is it's a group of railroads that operated in the Northeast. So it was started under Amtrak, and what it is, they wanted to unify all the operating handbooks so that the railroads who interacted with Amtrak trains, all the rules were the same. So, you know, when it started, it was, you know, Conrail and Chessie System and Norfolk and Southern, Norfolk Western was the predecessor, the Southern Railway, any of the railroads, Guilford Transportation, the Boston and Maine, any of those lines that interacted with Amtrak in the Northeast pretty much signed on that they agreed to use the NORAC handbook. So if you go, it's a public document. I think I just looked a couple weeks ago, and I think they're up to version 12. You can Google search it and get the PDF, and be aware it's a large document. I think it's like 400 to 500 pages, but it's broken down really well, and you can read into it. It's a lot of railroad speak, so you got to kind of, you know, look up a lot of definitions if you're new to the operation scheme, and but it'll tell you how to fill out your Form Ds and give you example of Form Ds and all that stuff. So go take a look at the NORAC handbook. So the last comment we're going to go over is from Mike Simmons. So Mike was saying how he thinks that maybe I should show some of the panels as I'm operating, just to give everybody a point of reference to understand what's going on. So I think we're going to try and work that in this session. The other thing was Mike was saying it seems that the Form D line 2 operate in both directions on main track will give the train to return to a Brown's yard without requiring a new Form D. The only thing is, yes, Mike, but we're going the other way. So I wanted to give that track back in Lakewood. So I wanted to free it up because the train was going this way, away from Lakewood. So that's why I canceled the Form D and added a new Form D. So I hope that answers the question. And otherwise, thanks for watching, Mike. Okay, so this video, we're going to be running 2 trains today. And what I want to do is I want to do overlapping Form Ds, so I can get practice of having multiple Form Ds active at once and juggling around track space. So I want to put it on video and show you how I'm going to do it. So today's 2 trains, and they're kind of short. The SA-35. The SA-35 calls out of Brown's Yard. It runs down the Sayrehurst Secondary to Toth, and then it'll cut off at Toth to head up the Southern Secondary. And don't forget, the Southern Secondary is that hidden staging yard. So there's not much switching to do there, but I will show you through how we're going to be operating through the camera and all that stuff. Then the second train we're going to run today is the SA-37 Extra, and that's going to be a sand train that runs down to Clayton. And we're going to run that train. There's not going to be any switching. We're going to move it as a unit. So I got the mine block card all filled out, so there's not going to be a switch list for that. And then we're going to juggle the track space and get the trains home to Brown's Yard. Okay, so this is our first train for the day. This is the SA-35. SA-35 has B23-7 number 2808 on point. We have 5 cars going on the Southern Secondary to be changed out, and then we'll be bringing back 5 cars as well. So this is also my sound equipped locomotive for today. So we're going to be trying to work it in with the sounds on the app. Okay, and so our second train for the day is way back over there. It's sitting on the top of the helix, and that is the SA-37 Extra. SA-37 Extra has B23-7 number 1913 on the point. We have 6 empty hoppers going to Clayton to be filled with sand, and then we have on the rear for rear and protection we have the Conrail N5C class number 23088, and that's going to be to protect us on the back maneuver heading down into the pit. Okay, so the SA-35 is sitting at Monmouth Battlefield State Park. It's currently operating under the authority of Form D C-108. C-108 is dated February 14th, 1988, and it reads to C&E number 2808, SA-35, Circle line 2, operate south direction on single track between Browns and Toth. So this will give the train authority to get down to Toth. Dispatcher is JD. And time effective on the fast clock is 13:43 hours. So we're going to get our train rolling. And we're going to start heading on down to Toth. Okay, so we're at Toth now. So we're going to call the dispatch and we're going to inform them we're at Toth, and we're going to need our Form D so that we can have authority to move on to the Southern Secondary. So what we're going to cancel Form D. Time effective on the cancellation is going to be 13:52 hours on February 14th, 1988, and dispatcher is J. Desmond. So now we have canceled Form D C-108, and that is no longer an active order. And now we're going to get our new order is going to be Form D C-109 issued. C-109 reads to C&E number 2808, the SA-35, Circle Line 2, operate in both directions on single track between Toth and Bank. Dispatcher is JD, and we're going to put time effective is 13:55. So what we're going to do now is our crew is going to operate the turnout to open up the Southern Secondary, and we're going to, now that we have our active Form D, we're going to head on out. We'll do a slow roll by the switch stand. Actually, our conductor is going to stay on the ground until we get onto the Southern Secondary, and he's going to line and lock the turnout to allow any trains to use the main line. Alright, now our conductor is going to operate the turnout, and he's going to line and lock it for the main, and it will be clear to proceed. Okay, so SA-37 has advanced down from Brown's Yard. They're currently operating under the authority of Form D C-101, and that is 2 C&E number 1913, the SA-37 Extra. Circle Line 2, operate in both directions on single track between Brown and milepost 65. So just to refresh everyone's memory, milepost 65 is the milepost just south of Lakehurst. So what we have effectively done is, by clearing Form D C-108, we've given up the whole main line, and we have our SA-35 is now operating under C-109, so that kind of traps them on the Southern Secondary. So now the whole main line is open. So we were able to get C-110 issued to give track authority all the way down to Lakehurst. So right now, currently, SA-37 Extra owns the main line, and SA-35 is stuck on the Southern Secondary. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow SA-37 Extra down and watch them do their work, and then we'll cover how we're going to get the trains back to Browns after that. So So you have to just use your imagination right now, because those coal hoppers are supposed to be empty, and that's what we're using for our sand cars. And then we got our caboose to protect our backing maneuver. So what we're going to do is we're going to head on down to Sayrehurst, and we're going to hit the runaround there to reconfigure our train for our switching in Clayton. So you can see SA37X is passing Toth, and they're passing the rear end of the SA35, because I just left SA35 there for now. So now we're coming down through Lakewood, crossing over Route 88. And we're going to stop just about here, just shy of turnout for the Sayrehurst runaround. So now our crew is going to get off. They're going to open up the turnout for the runaround, and we're going to proceed on down. And we're clear of the turnout. The conductor's going to line elect the turnout, and he's going to walk back to the other end of the train. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to uncouple our locomotive, and we're going to pull forward. Now what I have to do is I gotta open the turnout to get them to do the runaround. So we're gonna run around our train. We're gonna have to pull the caboose off, because we need that to be repositioned. Okay, the conductor's gonna open the turnout for the passing siding, and we're gonna back down. We're gonna couple and connect onto our caboose. We'll set the handbrake on that one car. Uncouple. And we're going to pull forward. Now I'm just going to put our hack on the main line. So we're going to set the handbrake. Okay. Uncouple. This that little guy's so light, I want to knock him off the tracks. Alright, uncouple. Pull forward. Open the turnout. Back down. And hook back up to our train. Alright. Don't forget we set that one handbrake, so we're going to have to release the handbrake. And we'll pull forward. Okay, so the work we have to do over here at Clayton is we have to pick up that string of hoppers that's there. But don't forget, there's a customer request in the box. All the covered hoppers have to be spotted at the north end of the facility. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to pull out the string of hoppers in the back, put in this new string of empties, pull out the loads, and then put the covered hoppers back into the north end of the facility. Alright, that carousel light's going to need a little help. There we go. So we're going to couple and connect. We're going to release the handbrake on our caboose. And we're ready to get to work. Alright, so now conductor's going to open the turnout for the Glidden spur, and we're going to back down. So we're going to couple and connect. I don't know how many handbrakes were set, so we're going to say that there was the first 5 cars the handbrakes were set. So we're going to release these cars. Two. 3, 4, and 5. Alright, so we're all set to go now. We're going to pull this string out of the pit. Alright, so we got our cars out, operate the turnout, we're going to back down and drop the whole string on the main. Okay, so now what we're going to do, because the pit's a long walk, so we don't want to have to, or it's a long distance, so we don't have to keep moving back and forth. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch out right here. So I'm going to set the first handbrakes. I'm going to set these first 3 cars, because everything is loaded. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off our empties with our N5 bobber. I'm going to put that on the runaround at Lakehurst, and we're going to pull them covered hoppers in the front so we can just make one back maneuver, drop the whole string at once. Make a lot less work and movement for our conductor. And we'll pull forward. We'll uncouple. We'll move up the locomotive. Alright, so we'll couple and connect. Release the handbrake on that first car, the second car, and the third car. Alright, so now we'll uncouple back here and pull forward. Alright, so we're going to couple onto our train that's on this passing siding. And release the handbrake. And now our train is all set for the movement into the pit. So we'll pull forward. Alright, so the train's in position where we want it. So we're going to go ahead and set the handbrakes on the first 3 empties. And we'll do one of the covered hoppers. We're going to uncouple from right here. All right, now we'll pull our locomotive out. We'll close and lock the turnout for the main. And we're going to back down onto the Sayrehurst and pick up our train that's on the main. But we didn't close the turnout, so I have to get the conductor to get back off and close it and lock the turnout. Alright, so we will couple and connect. Release our handbrake. And while we're here, we're going to go ahead and get our paperwork in order. Okay, so we're not working with a switch list because I'm using the mine block card. So, mine block card right here. And what that does is it lists the first car and the last car and how many cars and who it's being delivered to. So it kind of functions as a waybill. So that's in here in the car cards like that. Okay, so we'll go into our bill box. Don't forget, we have that was the customer request to put the cars up front. So we did that, we satisfied that. The other 3 covered hoppers are staying there, and then this is our block that we're picking up. So you're going to see the mine block cards already filled out for that. So we'll go ahead and switch those cards out. I'll put the new empties, in there to be filled. We'll put them in the back. And I also have to attach my way in transit card. So that's going to go in with the mine block run in the car card. Like that. So now when it gets to Brown's Yard, they know that these cars got to be weighed. So we'll clip everything together and we're all set. We're gonna do our brake test and we'll start heading back to Browns. We don't have to call dispatch at this time because we still have track authority all the way back to Browns. We own the main line right now for the extra. So let's go ahead and get our brake test and we'll start getting this train headed home, and then we'll go work the SA-35. That extra moving around that we did, we went ahead and our train's ready to go in the direction we need. We don't have to do any, the turnout's already locked and lined. We got our cars in order, the caboose is on the right end of the train, and now we just got to do a air test. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars, and we're going to charge the airline. Now we're going to set the brakes and hold the pressure for 1 minute. And our pressure on the end of the train line ends at reads 89 pounds. So we confirm the pressure. Now we're going to inspect. We're inspecting all brakes for application. So all brakes are applied. Now we're going to release the brakes. And we're going to inspect that all cars are released. So now the thing to realize is right now, the SA-35 is still sitting up there waiting to do their work, but when we have multiple operators, these operations will be going on simultaneously. So somebody will be down and switching the SA-35 in the hidden staging area while this is going on up top. So our test is successful and we're ready to go. So get our paperwork, get our throttle, and we'll start moving the train back to Browns. So I'm reading now, the fast clock's reading 16:53 and we're rolling out of Sayrehurst. Our Form D was issued at 14:08, so not too bad. 2 hours getting all this work done. And we're not moving too fast because, the track speed here is only like 30 miles an hour. Some places on the prototype it drops down to like walking speed, but we're not going to be doing walking speed. Alright, so now we're coming down through Freehold. Passing under Route 9, heading around the curve at Monmouth Battlefield. Okay, so the SA-37 extra is on the way back to Browns. Their cancellation on their Form D is 1756 hours. So they're back in Browns now, and they're giving up the main. But we're going to go ahead and turn and focus our attention over to the SA-35 now, and we'll run down and do all the switching for that. Alright, so we're going to get the SA-35 rolling now. Head down into the hidden staging area. Alright, so we're going to pull in here like this. Alright, so we're going to back in. And back up and relieve this stress on that coupler. So we'll set the handbrake on the first car. Uncouple and pull forward. I'm gonna hit a dirty spot. All right. And we'll back down. All right, so we'll couple and connect. Release the handbrake. And we'll be clear to pull forward. All right. Now we're going to try something different this time. I'm trying to pick up that last car because that's got my EOT device on it. Let's see if this will work. Alright, so that's not going to work. Alright, so that didn't, we're going to have to work on that a little bit. That's something I knew I tried today. Alright, so now that we're all coupled up, let's get our paperwork in order. Okay, so we've dropped our cars. The 4 new cars, we dropped them in. Now we're going to pick up the waybills for the cars that need to go back out. So here's the 4 new cars. And we got our car with the EOT device on the end. And so now our paperwork's in order. So now we're going to head back up to Toth and we'll take care of our Form Ds for our trip home. Alright, so before we head out, we got to do our air brake test. So, the intermediate test, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars. I'm going to charge the airline. Airline's charged. We're going to set the brakes. Brakes are set. We're going to confirm the pressure at the end of the train line. We're reading 87. We're going to inspect. We're going to inspect all the cars for application of the brakes. Brakes are set. Now we'll release the brakes. Brakes are released. We'll inspect. Make sure all the brakes are released. And test successful. Alright, so let's head on out. Alright, so we're at Toth. So we're currently operating under the authority of Form D C-109. So we're going to call the dispatcher and we're going to get Form D C-109 canceled. So Form D cancellation time will be 1910 hours on the fast clock, dated February 14th, 1988. And the dispatcher is J. Desmond. Okay, and now we're going to get our new Form D for our ride home. So our new Form D is going to be C111, and that is to CNE number 2808, the SA35, and circle line 2, operate in a north direction on single track between Toth and Browns. So just dispatcher is JD. Time effective is 1913 hours. Okay, so now we have our Form D. So the conductor is going to open up the turnout, allow us to pull out onto the main. And we'll pull off of the Southern Secondary. Alright, so the conductor is going to go ahead and line and lock the turnout for the main. And then he'll walk back up to the front end of the train. And we're ready to head on out. WJSA-35 is going to head out under the overpass for Route 9 and make his way down through Monmouth Battlefield on the way home. Okay, so there we go. Good operating session. Actually, it was a lot of fun. SA37 Extra went really smooth. Time-wise, we called in at 14:08 hours. And without rewinding the tape to double check, but I think we canceled the Form D at like 17:30 some odd hours. So really not that bad. So we're looking at like you know, about 3 hours, 4 hours of travel time. So that's really good. That's a short run. The switching out, I think doing the turning maneuvers on the main was a lot easier, and I think a little more prototypical. Than having to back all the way down the mine, because don't forget, you know, through selective compression, it really doesn't look like that much, but that Glidden sand spur was, you know, 2 to 3 miles long, so it was a long maneuver. So I think just doing the switching out on the main like that is more prototypical for that. So very happy with the SA37 Extra. Everything ran really smooth. I didn't have any problems with derailments or anything like that, so very happy with that. SA35 was a little rocky. I tried something new and it kind of backfired on camera. I used the EOT device car and I wanted to pick it up, and the uncoupling magnet wasn't releasing, and but I just touched it and it just popped off. So I got to take a look at those couplers. Also, the one turnout on the other end was giving me a lot of trouble, so I kind of edited that out. So so with that, those two little hiccups, it went very well. You saw the cars roll down into the bowl in the back, and that shouldn't be a problem. In fact, if I just take my camera right over, and if you look at the little mini camera, you can see the cars right there. So that'll be no problem. After I clerk the layout, I'll just bring a locomotive down, hook on, and pull them out, and then move them over to track 2 for the next session. So even though they rolled down, that's okay. That's something we'll just have to work on. So so yeah, so the SA35 little hiccups. Time-wise, it may have seemed like a lot of time. We called in at 13:43 hours on our first Form D, at the C108 Form D. And we canceled the last Form D at 1913 hours. So that's 6 hours, and maybe 6.5 hours. And so we're still within our work limits there. So that worked out pretty good, even though, don't forget, like I was saying during the video, you know, during op session, those two trains will be working at the same time. So there won't be that big time gap. So, and the other thing is, with the way I've set this up for this operating scheme with multiple operators, is the dispatcher can hold an SA35 down there for a little while, so they can, you know, stretch the time out a little bit. So that's kind of the little tricks I'm looking at with the way the ops are going. So overall, I think it was a great session together, and this way, I think working with the multiple Form Ds and trains trying to get past each other. That was a first, and then running with the sound app, and so it got a little confusing a few times there, and I had to step back and take a little pause. The Sound Loco ran really good. You know, that is a big key indicator of your track, is if your sound is cutting out, you got dirty track or dead spots, and I think it ran really well. I had one little hiccup down there in the hidden staging area. I'm gonna have to take a look at that and see if it's either dirty or if it's a dead spot, because maybe I'm not getting contact. But overall, the Sound Locomotive ran pretty well. All right. So with that being said, that's all I have for you this session. So now that we've wrapped up February 14th, 1988, we're going to close this session out. I'm going to clerk the layout. I'm going to move stuff around, flip waybills, and get set up for our next session together. And looking at time frame of my schedule of events coming up over the next couple of months, I think this will be our last solo session together, and this next run through these next few segments should put us right into our op session with with other people operating. So pretty excited. Okay, so that's all I have for you this time. Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, give me a thumbs up and throw some comments on there and questions for our next session. Okay, thanks. We'll see you next time.